Carrie Cardozo. Really enjoyed my time talking Carrie. When you hear someone's a psychic, I wonder what you think of. What images come up in your mind? Carrie realized at a young age that she has some ability. She believes everybody has this ability, by the way. Something tragic happened in her life where it made her focus on this ability a little bit more. And she's really passionate about what she talks about her skill, about her ability, and how she can help others do it. She's got many businesses and she's very, she focuses on a lot of different things. And it's not just this. She has one business where she helps people with their psychic ability, but she's very diversified, was the word I was looking for. But really great energy. I just have so many questions on how it comes to her. We talk about guides. We talk about intuition. We talk about, the ability to, she uses some terms that I'm unfamiliar with, and I get some description and some definitions from her, but she's just really easy to talk to. Wonderful energy. Really enjoyed the conversation and enjoy hearing perspective. Thank you so much, Carrie. And thank you for watching and listening. Hi, I'm Joey Pinz, and here's my 45-second introduction. After starting my business in the 90s, I started developing poor habits of eating in my diet because of working way too much. Before you know it, I found myself 340 pounds. The doctor told me if I don't lose the weight, I'm not going to see my daughter graduate. Took the next 7 months, lost 130 pounds. People think there's some secret. Ask me, how'd you lose that weight? Like there's some secret. There is no secret. How'd I lose the weight? Just one word: discipline. I've had other successes in life, and I attribute them all to discipline. Now, I'm not the king of discipline, but I believe that it can help all of us. Friends, colleagues convinced me to start a podcast. The podcast mission: how do we better ourselves and society? I talk to interesting people in health, fitness, sport, wellness, business, technology, science, art, and culture. And I eventually ask them how discipline plays a role in their life. Podcast vision: growth through learning from others. Carrie Cardozo, thank you for your time today. So what's the difference between intuition and psychic ability?
Yeah, so intuition is connecting, both are connecting with energetics, and energy communicates through, or we communicate through energetics with our soul, our spirit, everything in life. So intuition is communicating with the information that's inside of you. So your soul, any memories that you have, anything that you hold within inside of your own personal energy, where psychic gifts is reading the energy of everything outside of you. So if I was to talk to your guides or read the energy of like a crystal, I'm using my psychic gifts. Where intuition is reading all of the information that's already stored within inside of you. Like a past life can be stored inside of you. Your soul is in there. Your soul blueprint is inside of you. So that's the difference in the way that I teach it and in the way that I have always worked with it. So people use intuition interchangeably. It's safer than saying psychic. It's safer.
But one's internal, one's external. In this fast-paced MSP landscape, how do you stay ahead? Introducing MSPinfluencer.com, your ultimate hub for MSP news, insights, and community connection, powered by Forza Dash. More than 75,000 MSPs subscribe to our MSP Influencer Pulse weekly newsletter, staying informed and ahead of industry trends. Tune in to emerging podcasts from Joey Pinz and leading MSP voices, offering essential tips, powerful insights, and success stories. Explore our multi-authored blogs, crafted specifically for MSP leaders, delivering fresh perspectives and actionable strategies. Celebrate excellence with the industry-leading Forza Dash MSP Influencer Awards, recognizing innovation, leadership, and impact in the MSP community. Join thousands of MSP professionals who trust MSPinfluencer.com to grow their business and expand their networks. MSPinfluencer.com, where today's MSP leaders connect, collaborate, and conquer, all powered by the Forza Dash platform, helping MSP vendors work effectively with MSPs and helping MSPs grow.
Correct, yeah.
And how does one know if they're psychic or not? I started taking your quiz.
Yeah.
And then it started asking questions that I just didn't know how to answer, unfortunately.
Yeah, okay.
So how does one know if they're psychic?
Well, if you connect with me, my rule of thumb is every single person is psychic. Everyone is psychic. We just don't know people don't know how to use it. But it's psychic abilities is the ability to read and understand energetics. Everything communicates through energy. You just need to remember how to communicate with energy. When we're on the other side, that's all we communicate with is energy. You just forgot how to communicate that way over here. So when you remember how to communicate through energetics, you're psychic. I have been teaching people to activate their psychic abilities since 2015. I have never failed.
Wow.
At activating. I have 100% success rate in activating people's psychic abilities. Now
You
it's
said
whether they practice
Sorry.
determines if they sustain them. They have to practice them.
Everybody's got it. You said the other side. What do you mean?
Like heaven, the other side, like where spirits go. So one of my gifts is communicating with the other side, with departed loved ones. I can do mediumship. And the reason I can communicate with them is because they communicate through energetics. And so after we pass, our bodies are just energy. Everything always exists. And you can always communicate with that.
You used the term energetics a couple times. Energetics in which energy flows? Mm-hmm. It's the process in which it flows?
Energetics is... That's a great question. I do use the word energetics a lot. Energetics is the movement of energy. It's in the way it communicates to us. It's in the vibration that it has. So the same way, like if we look at the bottom of our screen, our voices are creating, movement on a screen to show where we're loud and where we're not. Energy is always doing that as well. And our ability to connect to that and feel that frequency is the language of energetics. So that frequency will always speak to us, and everything has a frequency at all times. That's the energetics that I'm talking about. So the frequency that an object or a person or a place is putting off is the energetics of it. And it tells us everything there is to know about it.
I can tell when a loved one, my daughter, for example, is upset or disappointed. She's not saying anything, but I could just tell. Is that it's just the energy is there? I could just tell. Is that psychic ability?
Yeah, it's your ability to tap into her energy. So even if she were like, I have children as well, and I have this one child who loves to just keep things inside, and she'll be smiling and stuff, and I know there's something wrong, even though her body is saying otherwise. She's chatting and stuff, but you can feel what's actually deep inside. So she's putting out a projection of happiness, but if you actually tune in, the energy is saying something different. That's psychic abilities. Absolutely.
And it's not intuition, because intuition is internal to yourself.
Correct. In my world, intuition is internal to yourself. Yes.
So, we're from the Northeast. We're both from the Northeast, and I spent a decent amount of time in New York City. And, there's some situations that you're in a bar or wherever, and you could just feel some bad energy happening and you want to leave. And, you could just see a person, you see they're not in a state that's positive. Let's just say that. And, I could just kind of read what they're doing, read what they're saying. They're yelling, they're belligerent, etc. Where does that just kind of dead signs leave off and psychic ability starts?
Yeah, and that's a great question, because one of the things that it's all communication, okay? We're communicating through our emotions. We're communicating through our body language. We're communicating through our voice. And you're taking all that in at all times, especially as somebody who's aware, and I don't mean to generalize, but a lot of men do that. They read the room very well for safety purposes. They want to sit facing the room, all of that kind of stuff, because they're reading everything. But you'll also be picking up the energy that's not being spoken or shown. So and it is a fine line. The emotions that people have energy in them. The words that people speak all have energy in them. And the way somebody acts all has energy. Literally everything does. What truly makes somebody tapping into their psychic abilities is to see the things beyond what's physically being shown to us. So the physical are the words, the emotions, the body language. The psychic gifts come into play when we understand why those are happening. So somebody could be really angry, but I could know I'm going to be totally safe, because they're not actually angry at me. And even though they're saying a lot of things, they're not actually going to do anything, because I can read the energy underneath it. So our human is trained to pick up these things. That's why you'll see a lot of people. I forgot what book it was, but I read this book about a former FBI agent, and he's like, psychics are frauds because they're really just taught how to read like the body and stuff like that. And I get that. And a lot of people are. But the level at which I teach people to do it is I teach them to see beyond what the physical is showing us. So the emotions, the words, the actions, and to also predict the future based on the probability of the energetics that you see. So I can say something and see stuff that people would have no idea, and there was no hint at it. Like people would say, I never saw that coming. If you saw the energetics, you should be able to see it coming.
Wow. I mentioned I have daughters, and whenever I'm with that, they're in their 20s, by the way, and or with friends, and I always think of the dominant giraffe. When the giraffes sleep, they all lay their necks down, but the dominant one will keep his head up to protect the the group. So I always look at myself that way. So I try to read the room, and I try to figure out what situation we're in. Now, when you do this and you see a reason underneath why they're upset, how does that come to you? Does it come to you in pictures and images, in voice? How do you receive that?
Yeah, so me personally, I receive it in all ways. I can see pictures, I can hear voices, I can just read the energy, so it's like a knowing. I see the truth. Energy is always truth. Energy doesn't lie. So we can tell stories and we can pretend and we can act, especially in the age of AI and influencers on social media. There's a lot of things that are just being shown to us, but we can see behind the scenes. And I hear, I see, I know. I can tell when somebody's lying. I have children in their 20s as well. My youngest just is turning 21. And it's challenging as a parent because I will have a child tell me something and I know this just isn't true, even though they might believe it's true about a relationship or something that happened. Or, I also do medical intuition. So my daughter actually reached out to me recently. She's in Arizona. And she said, I have wicked stomach cramps. I think something's wrong. I'm going to the hospital. And I'm like, no. You're not going to the hospital. This is what I see. Let me do some work on it. And the next day she was like, I feel amazing. Thank you. So in her mind, she's sick. She's telling me she's sick. She's telling me she has these terrible cramps. She's telling me she has to go to the hospital, but I can see what's actually really going on. So it is challenging as a parent because we want to let our kids have their own experiences, or we don't want to, like somebody, great example. My daughter will be like, I'm super frustrated about something, whatever. And I'll say, well, you're actually mad at this. And then her response will be, don't tell me what I'm mad at. I'm not mad at that. That's not what I'm angry with. So it is a little bit challenging. I had to really learn as a parent when to share what I saw and when not to. Because like my youngest came home from school one day. She was like, guess what I made in art class? It wasn't a literal question. And I was like, oh, love, a sign that says love. And she was like, I wanted to tell you it. You shouldn't have cheated. I wanted to surprise you with it. So it wasn't a literal question, but if somebody asks me a question, I almost always get the answer. So that it's challenging navigating life as a psychic because I navigate life differently than other people do.
Have you ever been lied to?
Yes.
You've been lied to, but you recognize that it's a lie.
Yeah.
Even if strangers.
Most of the time. Yes. Oh, of course. Strangers are easier, and here's why. With people you have an impression of them. You have an idea of how they are. You see them every single day. So yeah, you can learn their patterns and behaviors and when they lie. But when a stranger comes to you, I know nothing about them. So what I see even stronger is their energetics. Their energetics speak to me much louder. So strangers are so much easier to catch in a lie or to understand. And sometimes they're not blatantly lying. Sometimes it's like they really do believe something and they're sharing that, but you can see what's actually going on.
Do you play poker?
The only time I ever played poker is I was in Puerto Rico with my husband at the time, and we were down $800, and I was like, move over so I can play and we can get back to zero and go to bed because it's 2 a.m. That is the only time I've played poker. Yeah.
And so what, you were able to read the cards? You're able to read...
No, I don't do that as much. Like people will ask me, what are the lotto numbers? Who's going to win?
Yeah.
And Yes, can I, for the most part, hear who's going to win a game, like in the Super Bowl and that kind of stuff, but I don't use it for that intention. I don't. I
Hmm.
and yes, like I have a very good poker face, I guess. Like somebody who's like, don't play, don't play with her. But I don't often use my gifts for things like that. I will use it for investing in businesses, real estate, things like that. What is most aligned for me? Should I do it? In what way should I invest? What are some terms that I should go after, even if it looks like I won't get them? I will use it for that type of thing,
Hmm.
absolutely, but not lotto or betting. Yeah, you can. I know people who do. I just don't personally
Fascinating.
do that.
Yeah. Let's talk about guides, Carrie. So
Okay.
how were you first introduced to your guide? What's a guide?
So, a guide is a spiritual being on the other side who has a greater idea of what is unfolding in your life and what that needs to look like. And a true guide, somebody that is a true guide to you, because there's lots of beings on the other side. It doesn't mean they're your guides, but a true guide is here to help you and coach you and teach you along the way. The same way you would think of like a mentor in the physical world. They don't always give you all the answers. They don't show you exactly how to do it. They don't necessarily help you avoid something that's going to teach you. That's ultimately what a high vibrational guide will do, is they will guide you through life because they know your greater plan and they know like your greater impact here. So it's
Hmm.
a spiritual being similar to like what normal people would call a ghost, but there's no earthly connection. It's not like grandma or, somebody else. It's just a being on the other side who's here to guide you and connect with you.
And I've heard you talk about them, and you make the analogy. It's like you do research on them. If a stranger shows up at the door, you're just not going to trust them because they're not all benevolent, right? They can be harmful as well. What's in it for them to help or hurt you?
Yeah, that's such a great question. So you're right. There, just like there's humans that will do really good things here and really bad things, there are definitely spirits that do the same thing. And what's in it for them is when a spirit does something bad, they feed off of fear. They feed off of punishment. They feed off of your anxiety. They like that. It fills them up. It gets them excited. They like the adrenaline rush of it. And just to kind of like mess with people and to see how far they can
Hmm.
control you and manipulate you. They have control over you. Same in the human world. There are a lot of people, humans, who do that as well. But for a guide, they're connected and they thrive off of seeing your success. There's something very powerful about them guiding you. And ultimately, a lot of the guides that you have, I have found that people have had connections in past lives that they aren't even aware of. So let's say that you had a mentor in a past life, and now in this life, they're actually mentoring you from the other side.
Hmm.
Or spirits on the other side can be very committed to like somebody sharing stories, writing books, helping the world, feeding the hungry, healing the world. And so they volunteer to guide you because that's also one of the things that they're very passionate about, even from the other side.
Wow. When did you meet your first guide?
So I have been psychic my entire life. As a child, I can remember beings in my house. But as a young child, anytime I would tell my mom is a very successful entrepreneur, and she just had a lot going on. And so anytime I would tell my mom, she would say things like, yeah, yeah, okay, that's fine. Yep, okay. Or she'd say things like, okay, it's just your imagination. And I was never punished for any of it, and I was kind of just ignored or poo-pooed. So I just was like, okay, it's my imagination. I'm just imagining this person again, that shows up at my bedside every night. And so I kind of ignored it. And then in my late 20s, my life was literally falling apart. I was getting a divorce. I had 3 kids. And I said to my best friend at the time, I don't know why I'm so ashamed about this, because every single person sees what happens in their life, and I've already seen this. And she was like,
Hmm.
what are you talking about? And I said, well, I've seen all these things. I knew I was going to get divorced. I knew I was going to have a
Hmm.
kids really young. I've seen this. And she's like, no, nobody sees what happens in their life. Kind of forgot about it. And then in my early 30s, my partner at the time passed away unexpectedly. And that was the like my world stopped and my world completely changed in that moment. From that moment on, I could see him, but then I could also start seeing like all these other beings. And somebody suggested I go see like a shaman and then a medium and a psychic. And every single one I saw, they were like, you have the gifts. You are a psychic. You've been a psychic forever. And they were showing me all these things. And so the first spirit I actively, intentionally ever connected with was my late partner who had passed. But then also there were guides. He brought forward guides that I started to communicate with. And everything I've ever learned or done, I've only been taught by guides. I've never learned from another human. If another human comes into my life, like another psychic or something, I end up helping them and answering their questions and showing them and guiding them. So I've only been taught by spirit. As a child, my best friend died when I was 5, and I saw her my whole life. I saw the beings, like my guides that would be there. And then once Mike passed, I saw Mike, but then I also started working with a lot of guides. And everything I learned was in like an 18-month period of time after he passed. I just went really deep into my psychic gifts.
Can you be surprised?
It's very hard to surprise me. It's very hard. It's very hard. I've only been surprised a couple times in my life. Yeah. Very. And the only time I think I'm actually surprised when I look at it is when I am intentionally blocked. Like if my guides were to block me from reading psychic energy, then I will be surprised because I wouldn't have gotten the information. Otherwise, it's very, very hard to surprise me.
Why would they do that?
They would do it for one if they thought it was going to be really fulfilling for me to actually be surprised.
I see.
So like, somebody, an engagement or like a surprise party or something like that. But even that, I've only can remember one time in my life that I was surprised. Or if there's something I need to learn in the situation. One of the things I can remember, there was something really unfortunate that had happened in my life that I didn't see coming. I thought I didn't see coming. And I remember I was talking to my daughter at the time and she was 17 and she looked at me and I was like, I'm so like, this is so frustrating. I said, I'm a psychic. I should have seen this coming, all these things. And she said to me, if you were meant to see everything here in this life, there would be no purpose for you being here. And it's something I've said to people. My kids just really do listen to what I said. But what in reality, my guides had told me a year and a half prior that it would happen. I just forgot that they told me. They tell me everything that's going to happen. I had written it down in a journal. And because I have such a great relationship with my guides, after this thing had happened, I was very upset. And I was like, I can't believe you guys let this happen. I feel like a fool. I should know these things. And they were like, we did tell you. They showed me the exact journal, the color, everything. And for some unknown reason, I was in the process of moving from one house to the next. So 90% of my stuff was packed. And then for some unknown reason, this one journal that was filled, I wasn't even writing it anymore, was in the bottom of my desk. And I pulled it out. And sure enough, on a very specific date, they told me this exact thing would happen. Wow. So I had been told. My human just forgot about it because I didn't want to remember it, I guess. So I, for the most part, am always told the big things in my life. Or I'm like, before something happens. Recently, I met somebody who is playing a really pivotal role in my path forward. And a week before this person showed up, my late fiancé showed up. And he walked into my shop. And my manager of my shop, because I own a couple businesses, my manager of my shop looked at me and she was like, I need to tell you something. She's not psychic. She doesn't even really understand the psychic world except for I'm psychic. And she knows me. And she said, you will never guess. We have alarms on our doors because it's a public place. So when somebody opens the door to walk in, an alarm beeps. We can hear it wherever we are in the building. And she said, I turned around and there was somebody standing at the front at the register. She's like, I didn't hear a door go off, nothing. I turned back around to put this tray down. It's a bakery, a coffee shop. She turned back around to put a tray down, turned back, and the person wasn't there. She's like, Carrie, I swear to God, he was there. She described to me what he looked like, what he was wearing. She's like, the door never beeped. He was there 1 second, not the next. And I showed her a picture of my late fiance because she didn't know me when he had passed and she had never seen a picture. She's like, that's the man who was standing at the front. Wow. He was standing there. She's not psychic, but he needed her to see him because I had been ignoring him. I saw him, but I was like so busy. I didn't have a conversation with him. So by her seeing him, I knew he was saying, I need to speak to you. I need to let you know. And in that process, he let me know that somebody really important was coming into my life. I need it, even though I would be really resistant and it wouldn't feel like it was the right thing. I needed to trust that it was something super important and this person would lead my path forward. And within 2 days, the person walked through the door of my cafe.
Wow.
So I'm always guided as long as I pay attention. So my fiance had been trying to get my attention, but I was busy. I was ignoring so many different signs, so many signs. But because my manager, who is not even in the psychic industry, not in my psychic business, saw him, it made me stop to be like, okay, this is super important. Now I need to listen to what he's telling me.
Do you view, Carrie, yourself as one thing, your psychic ability as another, energetics is another? Because when you were just explaining that story, you said something kind of telling. You said, my human forgot, almost in a third person. Explain that, please.
Yeah. So we have the soul aspect of ourself. And when I'm connected to the soul aspect of myself, my psychic abilities, I'm always using them. They're always turned on. And then there's the human aspect, and our human has certain desires. Our human has wounding. Our human has fears, but our soul really knows the truth. Our soul understands, even if something is scary, it's meant to happen. And here's an example of that is that before Mike died, I heard he was going to die and I was shown he was going to die. Now, how he was going to die was up in the air because it really does depend on the choices that we make in life. Even the morning that I found him, I woke up and I heard Mike is dead. And I was like, no. Because I wasn't embracing my psychic gifts then. I was running a $16 million dental industry. And so I was like, no. Why am I saying these crazy things in my head? And what I came to realize is that my soul was very calm every single time I was shown that Mike was going to die. I was never freaked out. I was just watching, tuned in, and kind of had this feeling of like resonance. And then my human would come back online and I'd be like, why am I thinking about these things? Like, what? This is terrible. Why would I think this? So when I talk about my human, it is the untrusting, it's the real everyday thing where we see something bad and we're like, that's bad. We have all these labels for things. We have all these ideas of what things should look like. We have all these expectations about life, where the soul is in this space of, it's actually okay. This is meant to happen. It's okay. There's a greater purpose for it. So 6 years later, when that thing happened, when my daughter was 17 and was like, hey, this is supposed to happen. As I was going through it, my soul, I could hear my soul say, it's okay. Like, it's okay. It's all going to be okay. Your human doesn't like this, but it's going to be okay. Wow. So that was back in, 2022. So back to your question, I do navigate life as a psychic. It's part of who I am. I didn't always. It was very much like, am I tuning into my psychic gifts or am I being more human? Now, 99% of the time, I navigate life as a fully embodied psychic, which means I'm not turning it off. I'm not turning it on. I see the world through the eyes of like the deeper understanding as to why things happen. Now, it doesn't mean that I still can feel my human's reaction to something that I don't like, but I will always get this psychic guidance and I will always get this bubbling up feeling of it's okay. Like, it's actually okay. Even though the human doesn't like it, I'm getting the confirmation that this is exactly how it's supposed to be. It's okay.
Let's go back to guides, Carrie. You said you met your first one as a child. Is that guide still with you? And what did you learn from that guide as a child?
Yeah. So the first guide that I ever saw wasn't necessarily a personal guide. It was actually Jesus. And I'm not religious at all. I was not raised religious. And I remember waking up and Jesus was standing at the foot of my bed. And he was really clear, like it was safe. He was there. He was guiding me. And again, I'm not religious. I was not raised religious. We celebrate Christmas and stuff like that, but I didn't go to church. And then the other being that I connected with is a woman named Gloria. And she is a being that actually to this day still lives in my mom's house. Whenever I'm there, I see her. She's been very much like a mothering guide. She even was like a mother and guide to my children. We lived there for 6 months in transition of selling a house and buying another. And she would be up at night trying to get my son at the time, who was 18, to like shut his computer off and go to bed. So yes, I do still connect with both of them, but generally what happens, especially for somebody like me or a psychic or somebody who's more evolved and doing a lot of growth in life. So it doesn't even have to be psychic growth. It can be business growth and doing a lot of new things. Is as you grow and evolve, different guides come forward to help you with different situations. So everyone always has a guide, at least one with them at all times. Some people's guide just kind of stays around their whole life, but somebody who's growing in whatever way, psychically, educationally, business wise, spiritually, health wise, will have different guides that come in to support them at different phases of their life based on what they need. It's like thinking of it as like an expert. Like I have guides that I use to help grow my businesses. They're like I consult with them. They're like my team. I've guides that are really good at negotiating deals, and guides that are really good on marketing, and guides that I'll look for like money advice. So they all have their own role, and they all give me really, really clear information. So they grow with me as well.
Can you summon Gloria at any time, or do you have to go to your mother's house to see her?
No, energy crosses through every form of material. So I can connect to Gloria in a second and I can see her. It's just a matter like guides are more in a space of at your command, where departed loved ones, like let's say Mike, I don't always see him. If he's doing something else or it's not a period of time where we need to connect, I can remember what he looks like and I can remember him, but it doesn't necessarily mean I'm seeing him in this moment or communicating with him. So it's a different feeling when he's actually standing here and I'm communicating with him versus just a memory of him or thinking about him.
Wow.
So, and psychics need to get really clear on what their imagination looks like versus a true vision of what that looks like, what you're actually seeing. And that's one of the ways you can strengthen your ability to see is by practicing visualizing and then practicing looking at things through your third eye. So I can connect with him and still always read his energy, but it doesn't mean he's standing right here. But as long as something exists in the energetic form and realm, you can connect to it on one level or another. And you don't need to be like, I always say to people, and it surprises me that this surprises people, is your dead relatives are not hanging out in graveyards. You don't need to go to a graveyard or a cemetery or where you spread their ashes to connect to them. They're literally right with you. You can connect to them anywhere you are.
And when you connect to whoever, do you physically talk to them? How does communication occur?
That's a great question. I can hear them in the physical, like as if I'm hearing you, but
Wow.
most people can't. Most people can't. And I don't always hear them that way. So that's a lot harder for you to be able to receive that as a person. And it's also a lot more work for the beings, the departed loved ones, to project their energy enough so that you can physically hear them. So it's both of us are working together to be able to do that. So I can hear them that way. I also see them in the physical. And like, here's a great example. My 23-year-old son still lives at home with me. And the other night he was downstairs and he's like, "Were you up really early this morning?" And I was like, "I don't know what time." And he said 1:30. And I was like, no. I got up at 4 o'clock, but I wasn't up at 1:30. He's like, "No, I heard voices in the hallway." And he's like, I was like, "Okay, did you go out and see?" He's like, "Yeah, and no one was there. So can you please tell the ghosts to keep it down at night?"
Wow.
So they purposely wanted him to hear them because they can do it so that you don't hear them, but they can make it so you can hear them. But most people, when we're hearing our guides, we hear in our head. It's a separate voice that comes and is formulate at a specific area in your head or in your ears. We call them channels. So they communicate through a channel. It's like similar to like a funnel. It's an energetic channel. So when I talk to guides, I hear them. Normally they'll stand to my back right and I hear them right below my right ear, or they'll stand to my front left and I'll feel them right here at this part. This is where the voice comes in. And I train people to pay attention to where your imagination is. So if you were to talk to yourself in your head, where do you hear that? If your ego was to come forward, like, oh, you're not good enough, like that judgment, where do you hear that? If you were recalling a memory, where does that come from your brain? If you're recalling knowledge that you have, where does that come? Those are going to be in very specific areas of your brain. And so when you get really confident in where those areas are, you will also get really confident in where the communication is coming from.
I had a friend, Carrie, who passed away about 8 months ago. The 45 years I've known him. It's like his third battle with cancer. The third one got him. And then it was weeks later, and I was thinking about him, and in a dream. So I have to talk about dreams for a moment now. So I saw him in a dream, and in his very thick Bronx accent said, yo, I'm fine. I'll see you soon, my man. Everything's fine, and I'll see you soon. So where do dreams come in with all this? How they communicate to you?
Yeah. So
And it was comforting. It's very comforting to me.
Yeah, that would be what we would call a visit. You were visited by him. And it's where you have that comforting feeling, where it is a very short, quick message, where it's just like they feel very tangible, like you can really see them. That we call that a visit. It's not always that way. And it's one of those things you learn. Like, I know when Mike or somebody else is visiting me in a dream versus where a memory is coming forward. So dreams are both where we're in a state of unconsciousness and our brains are no longer working actively the way they do in our active everyday life, where we are open to receive psychic information, whether it's communication with a departed loved one or it's information that pops in, like you wake up with this inspired idea. So that's a really big part of what happens when we dream. But another part is we process things that are held in our subconscious. So we can process memories, we can process traumas, we can heal. So our dreams work in really beautiful ways. They're not just always connecting to the other side, always getting guidance. They can be absolutely just processing subconscious things that are inside, but they will feel different. When you're really paying attention and you think about the dream, the one where you're processing this stuff will feel very different than the way like your friend coming in and giving you that really clear message. And that's what departed loved ones want us to know, is that they're okay.
Right.
They want us, they're okay, they're fine. They want us to know that for one, they're still here, and that for two, they're absolutely okay.
Yeah. How do you show others that they have this psychic ability? How do you get it out of them?
Yeah. I have a very powerful way. Because I'm so connected with energetics, I work with energy. And which means that the only reason you're not connecting and hearing the things on the other side or your guides or whatever it is because you're not a vibrational match. Once you're a vibrational match, you're at that same frequency, you can hear them as long as your channels are open. So I'll share this story with you because I just worked with this woman. So I work a lot. I teach people how to access their psychic abilities, and a lot of those people are psychics and healers, but I also have this whole other industry that are professionals. And I work a lot. I work with a surgeon. I work with an anesthesiologist. I work with multiple realtors, multiple attorneys, every industry you could imagine. I work with these people. And I had an acquaintance come to me recently. She's an attorney, and she was having some medical things. And she was like, I don't know anyone else who can help me energetically but you. And so we booked a session. And in that session, I did some work on her medical problem, but I also took her into what I call like a psychic experience / a journey, a shamanic journey. And what I do with inside of there is I take the person's energy, and let's say it's vibrating at like a 4. Like, let's say the level's 1 through 10, and 10 allows you to be psychic, but 4 keeps you very much in your human fear. She has these medical things going on. So what I do is I use energy in order to take your energetics and raise them from a 4 to a 10. And in that 10, I'm holding you in that psychic energy. And in that psychic energy, you can experience anything you need to experience. So, and I'll see what you need to experience. So in that time, I took her into a past life. She could tell me all about it. I took her into experiencing and communicating with spirits. And I also took her to a place where she was able to connect with a couple departed loved ones. She messaged me over the weekend and was like, I have never had an experience like this. Like all of a sudden I'm psychic and I could hear. It was the most profound experience I have ever had. I'm doing that by adjusting their energy. So when I work with people, I start out by me adjusting their energy in order for them to see and hear and experience it and understand what it feels like. Then I give them meditations to do, which does the same thing. I've recorded them. Then I teach them how to hold the energy themselves. Wow. So how to take their energy from a 4 to a 10 so that they can hear. It is a process, but I have mastered that process because I took myself through it time and time and time again and learned like there's nothing in the psychic or the energy world that I can't do or teach. And I've taught everything on every level. And so it's really about adjusting your energy. So I can take anyone and adjust their energy using my energy abilities in order for them to hear or see whatever they need to. And once they do, they're like, oh my God, I didn't know this existed. And it's so tangible and it's so clear. And they'll see things before I even ask. So I'll say, there's going to be a woman who walks into the room because I can see what you see. And they're like, oh my God, the woman walked in right before you said it. Like they see it first because I'm holding them in the energy, in the true energetics of what they're supposed to experience.
What if discipline wasn't about punishment, but about unlocking your best self? I spent 2.5 years writing Discipline for Greatness because discipline changed my life. And I know it can change yours too. This isn't theory. Inside, you'll find real, practical steps you can use immediately to focus better, build stronger habits, reduce stress, accomplish your goals, and bring more balance to your life. Whether you're trying to get healthier, improve your career, or simply feel more control, this book gives you the framework. Start today. Grab your copy of Discipline for Greatness at joeypinz.com/book. Thank you. You mentioned a scale, Carrie, of 1 to 10. Are there zeros out there? Are there -5s out there? Or is it everybody's...
I made up the scale of 1 through 10 because it's easier for people to comprehend.
Sure, whatever it may be. Yeah. Is there a spectrum?
There is a spectrum of like super, super low, like nefarious demonic beings, all the way up to like high vibration, which we would say like source energy is the highest vibration and everything in between. So when I teach people, I do teach it on a scale of 0 to 10. For my base level, but then I'll have people be like, I've connected with a guide and it's a 14. Does it even exist? Because it's just the higher frequency. I've made up the numbers, but it's the frequency that we're feeling. So they're saying like, I know what a 10 feels like. This is a 14, so it's even higher, but I've made those up for teaching purposes. But yeah, there's all levels. And you can feel them. If you connect with a 0, a nefarious being, a demonic being, you feel that. And things start like you can get anxiety, you start thinking crazy thoughts, really terrible things can happen in your life. Where if you connect with source energy, I took one of my attorneys through a connection the other day to connect with source. And for one, after about 15 to 20 minutes, he was like, I'm exhausted. I need to stop because it's a lot of energy you're pumping through your body and holding. But also he was like, that is the most profound experience I have ever had. It's just the sense of like love and the sense of support is unlike anything I've ever experienced in my life. So you're connecting with the vibrations of the energy. So there is a scale, but there isn't a true number system with it. I've made that up.
And can one fend off those malevolent guides? I mean, is it up to you who you decide to converse with and to be partners with?
Yeah, for sure. It's one of the things that I teach as well in a program. And it's one of the things that all psychics need to know how to do. Now, do all regular humans who aren't going to activate their psychic abilities need to know how to fend them off? Some should. Sometimes I'll see people who have a lot of depression or just a lot of terrible things happen. They have a lot of negative thoughts. And it's because of the fact that there's a being messing with you. It's very easy to mess. So I truly believe everyone should be taught this, but yes, you can. So the more that you are in a low vibrational state, which we will call fear, anger, grief, even depression, any of those lower emotions, the more susceptible you are for lower vibrational beings to connect with you because they like the feeling of that. And one of the things that is a little bit scary for some people is that more and more people are opening up to their psychic abilities, but they're not doing their due diligence. So they're like, I want to speak to anything. I just want to call them in, and they can speak to things, but you can only connect to the level at which you're at. So if you're in a depressive state and you're like, I need somebody to answer me, or I'm really angry at this person, I want guidance on how to get back to them, you're going to call in a spirit that's going to give you not so great advice, or advice that could lead to you getting in trouble, or advice that could lead to like a lot of really bad things happening in your life. And so I first teach people how to connect and read energy. So back a few minutes ago, I made the statement that energy doesn't lie. Okay. Which means that the vibrations, the ups and downs, the frequency that we're seeing is always going to be the same thing. Just like CAT always spells cat in English. It's cat, CAT. It doesn't matter. You could tell me it's dog. I know it's not, it's cat. The same thing is true for energetics, that the specific frequencies always say the same thing. So if you say, I am in love, but I know you're not, because it'll show me that that's not a love frequency. Even if you feel it, I know you're not. Well, when we connect with a being, the being could say, I'm really good, but I can see the frequency that the being is holding. So the being can lie to us. So they oftentimes will. They will be deceptive. They will be deceiving. But if you can read energy, you know that that being is lying to you. You know, they'll say, I'm good. But when you look at it, it doesn't feel good. It feels very manipulative. It feels very fearful. And so you know that maybe I don't want to get my guidance from this being. So this is why, like, I had a woman come to me many, many times. And I remember this one time, and she's like, oh my God, I got this amazing advice. And I got da, 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 da. And I was like, oh, that's amazing. Where'd you get it from? She's like, I don't know. Something told me it. I'm like, well, what told you it? She goes, I don't know. I'm just like, I'm psychic and I can just hear things. And I'm like, but if you're just hearing things, how do you know it's the right guidance for the person? And how do you know it's actually going to help them? She's like, well, I don't. Why would I need to? Doesn't everybody just give me the right guidance? And that's just not true. It's not how it works. And so if you can do your due diligence, and I always say, if somebody knocks at the door, you don't just open, especially in the day we live in today. Like maybe when I was little, you open the door, but the day you live in today, even if they have a UPS outfit on, doesn't mean anything. And so you wouldn't just open the door for anybody. So don't open your psychic gifts for any being that's knocking, because they do. Now, when you're talking about low vibrational beings, you can remove them and you can get them out of your life or out of your house or anything like that. But you have to do it a very specific way, and you can't be scared. You can't like fight them, because they like the fighting. They like the anger. And the only thing that overpowers fear or anger or fighting is actually love. So you approach it a totally different way than you would think. In the human world, yeah, if you want somebody out of your house, you're going to use force. You're going to fight them. You're going to yell at them. You're going to do all those things. But in the psychic world, you don't do that. In the energy world, we don't do that. We hold a very strong power of love, a very strong power of confidence, a very strong power of, you're not bothering me. You cannot get to me. I am not afraid of you. And ultimately, if they can't mess with you, there's no more that they can do. So they will leave. And some don't. And that's when you should call in a psychic, in order to help you. So one that does remove, paranormal activity or entities and stuff like that.
Exorcisms.
Yeah, kind of like that. That's a religious way of saying it. But yeah, definitely like that. My daughter's first college apartment, she had given me the lease, and I was like, oh, the lease looks fine. I ran it through by my attorney and everything like that. But I had like a weird feeling about it. And I was like, I don't know. I don't feel good about this house, but I was busy. 3 kids, single mom, growing businesses. I was just busy. And so I didn't really look at it, but I just thought there's something weird about this house. But she's like, no, everyone loves it. I'm like, fine, sign the lease, whatever. Within the first month of being there, she had come home for a weekend, and her roommate sent her pictures of a lampshade tipped over, shower curtain ripped off the things, pictures being
boy.
all messed up, and she had just been sleeping and they'd been feeling things. My daughter said there's something in that house. So I did have to remove the being from the house, and there was multiple beings from the house, and one was somebody who had died there. And I said to my daughter, this guy died there. I told her all about it, and she was like, Mom, nobody died in that house. And like a month later, she came to me. I'm never wrong. So I was just like, okay, like that's fine. A month later, she came to me and said that the neighbor told her all about the guy I described to her, and he did die in the house. And I was right. He lived with his mom for a really long time, and his mom died in the house too. And she gave me all the details. So you can remove them, and they do often show up. And a lot of the times people don't even realize it. They just think they're angry or depressed because of life, instead of actually looking to see if there's beings around messing with you. It's a very common thing. We just don't give it the energy it should have.
Wow. Does astrology play a role in psychic ability?
In my world, no, it doesn't. It's one of the things that I don't resonate with is astrology or human design. And for me, astrology is a very scientific thing based on the position of the planets and that kind of thing. And oftentimes people will say, I'll read the energy. I do a universal energy reading, and I do it for the year. I'll do it in November for like the next year. And I go month to month to month to month. And people are always like, your reading is much more accurate than even an astrologer's reading. I'm just reading the energy. So planets do give off energy, and the way everything's positioned gives off energy. But I think it's so much more accurate to just read the energy than to look at, well, if this planet, and I don't even know them. I don't even know that I could tell you all the astrological signs. I just don't pay attention. My thing is that you get a much more accurate read if you read the energy of something. Like I share this story often. I was looking into astrology early on, and it's never resonated with me. My guides are always like, no, don't do that. It's not for you. And I read this story that this very famous astrologer had put out. And she said that she was doing 2 readings that day, and she had both charts put out for people. These 2 gentlemen that were coming in. And the first one came in, she grabbed his chart and she read, and he was going to have this amazing life and do all these successful things. And there was a window of opportunity open for him and all of this stuff. And he was super excited, and he left. And she realized she had given the guy the wrong reading. She had pulled the wrong chart. And his chart really said that it was terrible, and he was going to come into these really struggling situations, and all these bad things were going to happen, and, relationships were going to fail and all this stuff. And she was super upset, but she couldn't call him to tell him that. So she just left it. That man went on to have the most amazing 5 years of his life.
Wow.
Amazing 5 years, because she told him he was going to. And she told him what was going to happen. And she said from that moment on, she actually stopped doing readings because she realized it wasn't about the reading. It wasn't about what the chart said. It's about what you make of it. And that is really how I do my readings. I can tell you what I see. And I do oftentimes tell people what I see, but I also will tell you, if I see this, here's how we avoid it. Here's how we navigate it. Here's how we shift it. Here's how we change what's unfolding. And some things can't be changed. Like Mike was always going to die then. Always. And there's things that will happen like that. But instead of telling you this, and this is going to happen, it's a terrible time, I'm going to instead show you, here's what's going to be most important. Here's how you should show up. Here's the best direction for your business. Here's the best move to make. This person isn't trustworthy. Like there's so many things. Instead of telling you what to do, I tell you what's going to happen. I show you what to do in order to navigate it with the most success. You tell me what you want the results to be, and I will tell you exactly how to do that based on energy.
Wow. Carrie, is there a question you wished more people asked you?
Yeah, how to be psychic. One of the things that I don't want to be is I don't want to be somebody's back pocket psychic. I would rather people to be able to read for themselves, because that's the most powerful thing. Like one of the reasons I feel super powerful in my life, and I attribute a lot of my success to, is because I don't rely on anybody else to give me information, just myself. I don't ask people questions because I can get the answer. If something happens, I look at the energy and I understand why. And if I can't understand why, I understand that it's for a sole purpose, and I just keep moving. That is the most powerful place we can be, is when you know what it is that you need in life. And I'm talking fulfillment and connection and that kind of thing. and you know how to achieve it and you have the answers you need. And it's not because I'm constantly looking for answers. It's ultimately because I know I'm going to be guided. I know people are going to show up where I need them, and I ultimately trust. It is the most fulfilling thing. I know that time that I was in where I felt so uncertain about life. I was so angry at God. He had taken away the one person that I was so in love with and building a future with. And I was just so angry, and I felt like nothing was ever going to be good again. Activating my psychic abilities completely changed my life. Completely changed my life. It gave me a whole new sense of understanding of life, of power. And I'm talking like not control power. I'm talking just like feeling super confident and trusting in how life goes. And so I think I would love for people to ask me like how to be most aligned with their soul and with their gifts and what that is going to look like in life and how to actually do it, instead of feeling like you need people's guidance or direction or somebody to save you through life. Like ultimately, what is the thing that fulfills you? I work with a lot of 7 and 8 figure entrepreneurs. I work with people who make $500 million deals, and they will come to me because that's not what's satisfying them. It doesn't fulfill them. They've achieved it. That's great. But the money's not. And even the adrenaline and the rush of the deal doesn't satisfy them. It is the connection to self is the only thing. And when I say self, I mean like your soul and the truth and the other side and your abilities open is the one thing hands down that every single person I have ever worked with says completely changed their life. So it's not necessarily a specific question. It's a way of being that I think more people should be.
I have some friends, Carrie, that are empaths, so they just feel the energy in different degrees. Do you do that as a psychic as well? Do you feel other people's energy in a store, wherever you are, you can't really turn it off?
Yes and no. I feel that, and I can absolutely shut it off.
I
I can
see.
control what energy connects with me and who I let in my space. What happens with empaths a lot of the time, not all the time, is they had a very traumatic childhood, and their safety was being able to feel and know before anyone else did what was going to happen. So they are programmed to feel and connect because it's a safety mechanism. So they feel this energy and this energy and this energy and this energy in order to know ahead of time for protection. Psychics also do that. There is a famous psychic who has a show, and every single time he ends his season, he ends up in the hospital sick. The reason he ends up in the hospital sick is because he doesn't know how to manage his own energy, protect his own energy. He takes on everybody else's energy. And every single time he posts something about being in the hospital sick, all of my clients tag me in that post to say, you need to teach him how to manage his energy. Because psychic isn't just about receiving information. You shouldn't just be a telephone. You're carrying in energy and giving energy and experiencing energy. And so when you learn how to actually manage it, when I walk into an airport or a room, I can feel it, but I also can stop the feeling immediately. So I do my due diligence of knowing. I was on a really terrible plane ride. I travel a lot. I was on a really terrible plane ride, a couple of months back. And this is the first time ever I've been like, am I safe here?
Whoa.
And hearing yes, and then being like, all right, I'm going to block all this energy out. Just push everybody's energy out in order to know. And I just trust like, okay, I'm safe. I know that nothing's going to happen. So it's a really powerful tool. So yes, I can feel everything like empaths do, but I don't call myself an empath because I'm really good at managing the energy. So I don't take on anyone's energy. Even my kids, like I have 3 kids in their 20s, and they go through a lot, and they're making life decisions and, making big choices. And I don't want to take on that energy. I'm here if you need me. I can give you guidance if you want. I'm here to listen, but it's not my job to fix it. So I'm not taking on that energy that they're in. And this allows me to be a better parent of giving them back so that they have the full experience, so they don't have to keep experiencing the same thing over and over and over again. Instead, they get to learn and experience and make true changes. When we take people's energy on, we try to save them or fix things for them, and it ultimately takes away their power. So anyone can learn to protect their energy or to shield it so you don't take on people's energy. I think everyone should learn it. I think it's like a basic, we should teach this to kids.
Can you feel my energy?
Yeah. Yes. I feel energy of people the minute I hear about them or see their name, unless I actively am blocking it. Yes.
Yeah. And what is it telling you?
The energy can tell me a lot of things. So it can tell me like if, so when I was asked about like, do I want to, my team was like, oh, here's an opportunity to be on an interview. Do you want to? I immediately be like, yeah, this guy is open. He's understanding, also very discerning. There's ability for you to get like caught up in your logic. I knew we would have a really great conversation. I think this is one of the podcasts in a long time that I've been on that you've asked really good questions and really did your due diligence. I can feel that when I connect with people. But I can also feel, which isn't always the best thing, is I can feel, if I look, I can feel people's traumas and I can feel what they're struggling with and I can feel childhood wounds and I can feel all of that. And that's not always the best thing. Like if you're in a new relationship or dating and you're like, oh, great, he has dad issues or mom issues, like it's not always the most fun thing. So, yeah.
Well, I'm sure you could feel my positive energy. The Knicks are in the finals. So
perfect.
So if we go back 10 years, Carrie, just 10 years, what's something you believed firmly then that you no longer believe now?
That's a good question. Something I believed 10 years ago that I don't believe now. I believed 10 years ago that life was very hard and that life happened to you instead of for you. And I was really struggling with that. My fiance died 12 years ago. So I was only 2 years out from that. And I was really just exploring, like navigating that area from human to really spiritual soul aspect. And I really was in a place of like, life is hard. And it happens to me and things get taken away from me and I have to just navigate them. And in these last 10 years, I realized how simple life can be and how much it's actually in your control. Like every single thing that has happened, all my success, all my businesses, all of my relationship, I have full control over. And if not, it doesn't actually matter because it was meant to happen. You knew it was going to happen anyway. So that has really been a huge perspective shift for me. My life has drastically changed in the last 12 years, drastically changed, and has been the best. I always say that my fiance's death was the most horrific thing that has ever happened to me and probably will. I think it's prepared me for anything. It was life-changing, but it was also the most beautiful because it has brought me to the person I am today. I'm not the same person I was when he passed away at all. So I've learned a lot in the last 12 years.
That's the gift he gave you.
Yes, it is. And also my psychic abilities. He is the reason I woke up. He is 100% the reason I woke up. Like, could I have woken up? Yeah, but I don't think I was committed to understanding my psychic gifts because I needed to communicate with him. I needed to know that he was okay. I needed to still have conversations with him every day and feel like he was there. He was my best friend. And although I don't need that anymore and I know I can connect with him whenever, and, I'm sure he showed himself to my manager because I was ignoring him. I was just like, oh, hey, I see you. But he was the reason that I spent 18 months worth of time solely focusing on my gifts, is I needed to feel that connection deep again and really be able to feel as if he was here physically. I personally needed that.
So, Carrie, I started my business back in the 90s and I was working way too hard and I was not paying attention to myself, developing a lot of poor dietary decisions and not exercising anymore. And I'm in front of the doctor and she tells me I'm at 340 pounds. So I had gained all this terrible amount of weight. I knew I was getting big. Didn't think I was that big. She says to me, if you don't lose this weight, you're not going to see your daughter graduate. My daughter was just born. So spent the next about 6-7 months, lost about 120 pounds and kept it off. You can't look at these things as a finishing line, right? These are lifelong changes you have to make. And when I tell people this, they always say, what's your secret, what you do? And I say, there's no secret, just discipline, right? I have focus, motivation, routine. I consider it all under the discipline spectrum. How does discipline play a role in your life?
Oh my gosh, discipline is huge. And I agree with you. I think sometimes people look at psychics and like, oh, it's magic. You have a magic wand. Just wave your magic wand and I'll be fine. People will say that. Can you just work some magic and fix something? Because sometimes it can feel like magic. When I'm doing energy work, you will feel an immediate shift in the work that we're doing.
Wow.
But it is about discipline. Like every single day, multiple times a day, I check and clear my energy. The only reason I am as good as I am is because of the fact that I spent 18 months worth of time, 8 hours a day, if not more, just practicing my gifts
Wow.
over and over and over again. Like that's all I did was practice my gifts, connect, do readings, work with other psychics and helping them, just over channeling with my guides. And it was a lot because psychic gifts are like a muscle. So if you were going to go run a marathon, I'm sure similar to your process of, I'm sure you didn't lose, over 100 pounds in a week. You weren't just like, oh, I'm going to do this. You had to be disciplined in order to do it. Growing your psychic abilities and being able to work with big energy is the same thing. I know psychics who get tired after doing 2 readings. I can do 10 readings in a day. I don't want to, and it's exhausting, but I can do it because I know how to sustain my energy and I've built the muscle. So you have to put in the time and energy. Like I can work with your energy and alter it so you can hear or see anything I need you to hear or see, anything that's coming. But in order for you to sustain it on your own, you have to put in the time to practice. So practicing discipline, taking care of my energy. I connect with my guides every single day. I work to like be in that flow state, work on trusting. I do so many things every day and I teach my psychics to do it. It's called like energetic hygiene or maintenance. And I also will scan my body to see like my body takes a beating from all the energy. And that's why a lot of psychics and mediums get so sick. So I'm always working on my own physical body. So it is so, so important. If you want to be a phenomenal psychic or even growing your business, I have multiple companies. It's not just like, oh, the guide told me to do this, therefore it's successful. I show up in those businesses every day and being able to have that time to not get burnt out, being in these businesses, taking care of myself, having relationships. It is a very specific way in which I'm able to do all of it, but it requires me being very disciplined to take care of myself, intentionally relax, intentionally disconnect, tune in with my own body. I'll also ask my guides for guidance on different things. So it's not just like Carrie's going to hold it all. Carrie's going to do everything. She's superhuman. It's a very intentional practice that I have in order to do all of it and plus be a mom.
As a child, you mentioned your mother was an entrepreneur. Was discipline talked about in the house? Was it kind of exemplified? How was it viewed then?
Oh my God. Yes, it was disciplined. And honestly, there was a lot of things I had to unlearn. Like my parents were, my dad was super successful as well. And they're very hard workers. Like my parents both, everything they have, they built themselves. And it was like, if you were still sleeping after 8 o'clock, like, what are you doing? You're wasting away, So like, it was we had chores. We all worked in my mom's company at different times. We had responsibilities, but also part of our responsibility was our education. We were put in very prestigious high schools and we were expected to get very good grades. So yes, my parents had very high standards. And we did have to adhere to them. I didn't always. I definitely am like the black sheep, the resistance, the kind of caused trouble, but in a very nice way. Like if you ask my parents, I was very well behaved. I never got, in serious trouble just with them. But yeah, my mom was very disciplined. She still is to this day, as well as my dad. And so we did learn it. I just altered it to fit the understanding of soul and energy that I know so that I don't burn myself out. And I really do focus on, the things I want to achieve in life other than success in business. So yeah.
Carrie, I want to, I've got to know you a little bit here. Last minutes we've been talking, and the art versus science question: is psychic art or science? How often are you relying on your gut, or are you at all?
So sometimes I am, and especially because our bodies will have a physical response to energy. So the same way, like you walk into a room and you're like, oh, something happened in here and it just doesn't feel good. Your body's telling you that.
Yeah.
So there is an art and a science to it. There's definitely I know people who very much look at psychic abilities and intuition and reading energy as mathematical and science-based, and it can be. But for me, it's absolutely looking at how I respond, what I feel, what I'm hearing. And math and science are my specialties. I am super smart, but I had to unlearn a lot of things in order to be able to trust the guidance I'm given. So I know what tangibly works. I know what logically works. I understand things at a deeper level, but if I let that go and let that be secondary. So I first will tune into the energetics and understand it. Then once I understand what's happening, I then implement the strategy and my knowledge that I have, but I want the truth of the situation first. So even though something makes sense, it doesn't mean it's right. I can logically do that. And I've worked with a lot of people in the medical industry, and I have had to help them to unlearn what medical shows you, because medical is a process, it's a science. So if this, and this add up, then you have this. That's not always true. And I've taken my children to Yale 2 times specifically. I have told them what is wrong with my children. They have told me I was wrong. I have then waited days. It got worse, taking them to other places, and it confirmed exactly what I say. So like the best of the best got it wrong. I always trust what I get. I always trust the energetic read or my true gut, not my human gut, but my true gut instinct, because it's never wrong. It's never wrong. As long as I keep my human out of it, my emotions, my beliefs, as long as I keep that stuff out of it, my read is very, very accurate. And I always trust that. Even when somebody's like, nope, you're wrong. I'm always like, okay, I will say okay. But I know like within days or weeks, it will be proven right.
When you
and
say
that's
you brought,
a level of trust that you have to
a lot
have.
of trust, with yourself.
Yeah.
When you say you brought your children to Yale Hospital.
Yeah, Yale New Haven Hospital, the Children's Hospital. Yeah. My daughter was brought there. They were telling me they were shipping her there in an ambulance, and she refused to get in the ambulance. She has fear of medical stuff. So I picked her up from school, and she had just turned 18, so they let her go into the children's ward. And in there, she was having a high fever, really bad pains. I could see she had a kidney infection. And I said that. I think she has a kidney infection. And they were like, we did an ultrasound. We don't see anything. We tested the urine. Nothing came back. She's fine. She's just probably having like maybe, they were like, she's a college student. It's probably stress. I was like, okay. Like I sat there through the ultrasound. I don't read ultrasound things, but I know they did it. I'm like, okay. So I took her home. 2 days she got worse. I took her back to a different hospital because we live very north in Connecticut. The only reason she went to Yale is because she was at Quinnipiac. And so I took her to a hospital that the pediatrician's at, and she had a raging kidney infection. They were like, we would hospitalize her if there wasn't such bad flu going around. She was there for several hours. They pumped her full of IV, and they said, you need to keep doing this. If you notice anything worse, bring her back in 24 hours. But they didn't want to admit her because there's so many people had the flu. They didn't want her to get sick. It took 3 rounds of antibiotics to get rid of it.
Wow.
And Yale had sent even notices to the other doctors saying she didn't have anything wrong with her. So it's things like that. Like I know what I see, and I don't have any medical training. So it's simply all on what they're showing me in the body, what I'm hearing, what's lighting up. And this happens all the time. I do a lot of medical stuff for people. I just don't advertise that I do medical.
I was born at Yale Hospital.
Tell
me, So tell me, does meditation come into play for you? Do you meditate?
I meditate differently than people say. So meditation for me is just the silencing of the mind. It's just being able to quiet the mind and connect to the heart space. And so in that state of the mind being silent and connecting to the heart space is where we get our information. It's where we're channeling. So yes, meditation was a huge part, but it doesn't mean you have to sit. Like you can meditate when you drive, just silence your mind.
That's right.
You can meditate when you're washing dishes. So I'm a very big proponent of learning how to silence that mind wherever you are. That's what gives you strength. The mind will mess you up. You don't actually need your mind. I can answer any question, but with psychic abilities, I did for years growing businesses. People would ask me questions. I just answer them and be like, I have no idea if that's right. Like my daughter was listening to me once, she's in med school, and she was like, you sound like the class I just learned. Like I was reading through, doing a class that I channeled on the body and all the energy running through the body. So one of our superpowers as humans is our psychic and energy connection. The problem is that in schools, they teach us to learn. They tell us what they want us to learn. They tell you what to think. They tell you what to do. If we taught children to use their psychic gifts, that your brain can only retain so much. As a psychic, I have access to everything. My brain doesn't get It doesn't get overflowing because I don't store it in my brain. I access it through psychic gifts. So meditation is huge because the way that people second guess themselves, they'll say, "Oh, I heard this." Well, it's really just their mind. So if you can control your mind, you can access your psychic gifts. The mind is what keeps us out of our psychic gifts. It answers every question. You're human. If I ask you a question, your brain immediately goes to try to answer it. If you're in a challenging situation, your brain wants to save you and get you out of that challenging situation. It's survival. But if you can learn to shut that off and to tune in, actually access the information inside of you or the information outside of you, you will always have every answer. But meditation does that.
I meditate as well. When I have friends that try to get into it, it's always, the analogy of, you're looking at the clouds are your thoughts, and you're looking, trying to separate. And sometimes it's a difficult hurdle to get over. Right now, what motivates you, Carrie?
I think what motivates me is teaching more and more people about what I do and about helping others. So I do own multiple companies, but this is the only one that is psychic based. The others are just connecting with people. I build businesses around things that I love in ways in which I want to help people. So I very much connect to like my soul is here to experience very specific things, and I get information for people and guidance. And that is really what motivates me, is to be able to share the information that I have and to teach people about the information they have, and to really connect with people on a very, very deep level, and help to give people what will fulfill them and what their souls are truly asking for, whatever that looks like. It's super important to me. And I, when I look at people and when I experience people, I can see them for what their soul came here to do. And to be able to help people to see that, or to like bring that out, the world would just be such a better place if everybody was living from like their soul experience. And it wouldn't be perfect, because there are people who are here that are helping us to learn lessons, and it's not always great things that they're sent here to do. But if we all were able to live life through that soul perspective, it would be a very different life that we lived. Be very empowering. So that is what motivates me, is all the things that I see and all the things that I know and the ways in which I can help people.
You didn't say the word, but what I heard was impact, Carrie. So given that as your motivation, impact, how do you measure success?
By how I feel. I measure success by how I feel. So when I help people, it brings this sense of like peace and calm and like just fulfillment. So the level at which I get fulfillment, and it's not just from helping people, it's not just from the impact. Like I own a piece of property and it's out in the middle of nowhere, and it is the most fulfilling thing to just go there and sit and stare at the lake. Like it's so great. So it's both the impact that I make and seeing the success and hearing the things that people say. And their success is always like, oh my God, I feel so much more connected. Like I had this amazing result in my business. I was confident about what I was able to do. But my success is also how I feel, just that fulfillment and that peace. Ultimately, for me, it's not excitement. It's not thrill. It's this feeling of just calm and peace that I can connect to, where it feels like everything's right in the world.
Wow.
Like everything is just super calm. That is absolutely the level of success for me.
Harmony? Sounds harmonious, this level of peace that you described.
Yeah. And
Tranquility?
harmony with like the universe. Yeah. Tranquility for sure. Yeah. And just feeling that. It's a feeling. It's not, because for me, my businesses could always be more successful. And don't get me wrong, like my teams always know, like we're doubling last year's numbers. We're tripling this. We're always looking at that. But that's like the fun of the game. That's not fulfillment. That's like, let's see how good we can do. The true feeling of like peace and tranquility and just like this like sense of fulfillment is other people's results, and then just that being at peace with myself and life and just being present. That's really what it is, those connections and the presence.
What would break your current success if you stopped doing it?
Like what whenever I stop sharing or whenever I get really connected with or consumed with something that's going on in my life, I start to feel really aggravated and jittery. Like I'm not sharing. Like there's so much, or I'll see people who are struggling, or I'll see people who just have this false sense of direction. And it feels very unnerving to me. It feels very anxious. I feel very, very anxious when that happens.
Hmm.
And it's not, I am definitely, as a psychic, I am one of those people that I will not give guidance that is not asked of me. So I could see the most profound thing for somebody or something they're struggling with. If somebody doesn't ask, I will not give it to them. So it's not that I have to tell everybody the information. It's being able to say, I have this, and I'll teach people different things to help them to tap into their power. But it's only for the people who are ready. It's only for the people who know they're ready. So I think if that were shut off, if I get really caught up in my head and worried about things, that totally throws me off as well. Totally throws me off. So for me, it's, I have this connection. I get this guidance. I can see this clarity. I know what can help the masses. And as long as I keep showing up and doing that, it's this sense of impact and fulfillment that feels really, really good. When I ignore that, I feel very disconnected and jittery, and I feel like there's something more I should be doing.
Yeah, the trap of unsolicited advice, slowly trying to remove those people who do that in my life, sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, but still, I really didn't ask, sometimes there's best intentions in there, but still, I mean, you don't know all the facts, and it can be a tough situation. How do you love talking about this?
I do.
I can sense your passion. I sense your energy. Do you get tired of talking about it at all?
This stuff, no, I don't. What I do, so there was a period of my life, and I agree with you that like the only people who give unsolicited advice, especially as psychics and healers, are wounded ones. They need to prove that they know it. They need to prove they can help you. They need to fix everybody because it makes them feel better. But one of the other things that's very challenging as a psychic, and I have lost a lot of friends because of this, is that I love talking about what I do and helping people and educating them. But if I'm going out to dinner and my friends are like, oh my God, I have these problems. Can you solve it? Can you give me guidance? The people who are constantly like, can I ask you a question? Can I ask you a question? Can I ask you a question? I remember this one girl, we were friends. And she messaged me and she was like, hey, I need you. I'm struggling. I just have a question. Could you answer it for me? And I said, hey, I'm going to be honest with you. My world just crumbled before my eyes last night. I said, I just need space. I'm not in a place to do that. I'm really struggling right now. And I'm not somebody who really struggles with life. And her response to me was, okay, you let me know when you're ready to answer my question. She did not for once ask how I was. She wasn't like, oh my God, what can I support you with? And I immediately stopped that friendship. So as a psychic, a lot of people look to me for guidance and direction. So what's super important to me are the people, I cut people out of my life who just need that, who are just using me for my guidance. And instead, the people who are closest to me are the ones that still see me as a normal human, as like, let's just have a regular conversation, that we can go someplace and I'm not being asked all these questions. I love talking about it and I can talk about this stuff forever. But having me fix your life every time I show up or give you guidance to fix your life every time I show up gets very exhausting. So that's the only thing. Otherwise, I could talk about psychic stuff and teach on psychic stuff forever. It's when somebody's like, I'm broken, fix me, or let me unload all my problems and you tell me how to fix it. That can be very overwhelming.
Want to show your love for discipline, inspiration, and the Joey Pinz podcast? Now's your chance. Introducing the brand new Joey Pinz merch store, where style meets discipline. Choose from premium apparel, cozy hoodies, stylish hats, durable bags, and your new favorite coffee mug, all featuring the iconic Joey Pinz logo. Perfect for podcast fans, discipline enthusiasts, or as unique gifts for friends and family. Every purchase supports the Joey Pinz Discipline Conversations podcast, helping us continue to inspire greatness and promote positive change. Visit joeypinz.com/store today and wear your discipline proudly. Joey Pinz merch. Wear it, share it, and live it.
Yeah.
I saw a quote recently. You find out who your friends are when you lose your job and your house and your possessions. So what do you do with the haters? What do you do with the doubters? What do you do with them?
You know, I might be stepping on my own feet saying this. I really don't have a lot, not publicly. I don't have an overwhelmingly huge following. I have really grown my business to 7 figures with, a modest 30,000 followers across all platforms. And in real life, I think because of the fact that I'm super open, like I interviewed somebody recently and his interview just dropped last week. And it was funny because my team sets up all my interviews. And this gentleman came in and he said, I said, my podcast is the CEO Psychic, and we talk about how you use your psychic abilities in your business. And he looked at me dead in the face and he said, I'm super religious. I actually trained as a minister. I'm not psychic. And I was like, amazing. And like for a split second, it caught the eye of one of my producers. And I was like, the conversation was, what the hell? Like what? And I just looked at him and I said, that's okay. You don't have to be psychic because you can use how I look at psychic gifts. I would assume you use them in religion. So you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm assuming you started your business and he's a real estate, investor. I said, from guidance from God. And he's like, yeah, for sure. I don't do anything without guidance from God and checking in. I was like, that's what I do. I was like, do you still want to have a conversation about that? And he was like, yeah, for sure. So I think for me, I don't need people to believe in what I do. And I work with a lot of people with a lot of different beliefs. And I can show you how to understand what I do or what you're meant to do with your beliefs. I don't need you to believe what I believe. And I'm never one of those people that is pushing my beliefs on anybody. If you like them and they resonate, come hang out. If not, and you want me to help explain what I know about life and about your purpose and communication on a way in which you understand, because those are your beliefs, I can do that too. So I don't have a lot of haters because I'm not a push. You have to believe this. This is the only way. Energetics is so inclusive. It is so across such broad spectrum that it blends with every religion, every belief, everything. I don't care if you believe in past lives or not. I have a client I've worked with for 5 years. She didn't believe in past lives. And even the other day she goes, in one of my past lives, she goes, well, if I believed in them. And I'm like, if you believed in them, so like I can help people at any level that they're at. And I can show you what I'm talking about at a level. And so I really don't have a lot of haters in that regard. And I really do meet people with where they're at. It's not about me when I'm helping somebody. It's not about my beliefs. It's about where they're at and what they need. And because I have such a clear view of what that is and how receptive they will be, I'm not one of those like, I'm a psychic and you must agree with it. I live as a psychic, but if somebody asks me what I do, it depends on the situation. Sometimes I say I'm a psychic. Sometimes I say I'm a business strategist because that's what I do. Sometimes I say I own a bakery and a coffee shop because I do. Sometimes I say I'm a healer. It really does depend on the situation and how that person's going to take it and what they need to hear from me. So the only time I might get haters is when I am very passionate about the understanding of energetics. And I have very strong beliefs about medicine and that kind of stuff. And I will share those sometimes. It doesn't mean you have to believe the same thing, but sometimes people don't like the view or the energetic read on something, but I very seldom have haters. Yeah.
I heard recently an analogy for haters. So the eagle will fly, of course. The crow is the only bird that will attack an eagle. So it'll get on its back and start pecking at it. Now, the eagle will not force it off. It'll just increase altitude because it knows that the crow can't handle a certain altitude. And when it gets there, the crow just falls off. So when the world's at you and pecking at you, just continue to rise.
Yes. Yeah. Just rise. And I just stay true to what my beliefs are. And I'm very confident in those. And I'm okay if you don't believe them, Yeah. I like that. I've never heard that before, but I really like that. So true.
So wonderful talking to you today, Carrie. Thank you so much for your time. People watching or listening, you've got a book, you've got a podcast, the best place to get you is probably your website.
It is, or on any social media. Everything is Carrie Cardozo. So carriecardozo.com on all social media, as well as my website is carriecardozo.com. Yeah.
Cardozo, Carrie with 2 R's. I thank you so much. Next time I'm back home in the great Northeast, perhaps we'll get a cup of tea.
Yeah, for sure. It was so great. Thank you so much. I've loved this conversation. This has been really great.
Thank you, Carrie. You be well.
You as well. Bye.
Thank you for listening and or viewing Joey Pinz Discipline Conversations. Please share this episode with 1 or 2 of your friends who you think may benefit from the episode. Our website, www.joeypinz.com. There you'll find lots of resources and you could join our mailing list. Please follow us on all our social media, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Podcast information, the video version of our podcast is on YouTube. Please subscribe. Audio is on all major podcasting platforms. Please follow them. And if you like it, please consider giving 5-star rating. Would really appreciate that. Thank you again for listening or watching Joey Pinz Discipline Conversations.